Good evening, friends. Welcome to our webinar session. Today's topic on CSR is critical frequently asked question on CSR. And we have with our panelist, Mr. Randhir Singh, who is a Company Secretary, Compliance Officer, CSR Head of Dr. Letters. To formally introduce Mr. Singh has more than 23 years of experience in corporate governance, legal, secretaries, CSR. He is a group company secretary of Dr. Reddy's and is also heading the CSR function of Dr. Reddy's group. Previously, Mr. Singh was working with Colgate-Palmolive as a company secretary and compliance officer and was head legal for Colgate Global Business Services. Prior to Colgate, he has worked with reputed organizations like G Capital and NIIT in lead roles. He is also serving as a member of FAQs Corporate Law Committee, CI National Committee on Regulatory Affairs, CI Task Force on Legal Services, and CI Subcommittee on Business and Corporate Laws, and CI Southern India Task Force for CSR Affirmative Action, an expert group of ICSI CSR Excellence Awards. Too many areas of expertise: CSR, corporate governance, legal, ESG, risk management, corporate affairs, and board process. CS Kumar Randhir Singh is a fellow member of ICSI, is a Master of Business Administration with finance specialization from LBSI in New Delhi. He has done Masters of Business Laws from NLSIU, Bangalore, and LLB from Campus Law Center, Delhi University, and BCom Honors from Delhi University. Welcome, Mr. Randhir. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Dipti. My pleasure to be on Mehta webinar again.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's my privilege.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, our another panelist and moderator is Mr. Sudhakar. I am not formally introducing. Everyone knows him. It's not right. So with this, today's presenter is Ms. Dolly Thakker, and she's having more than 3 years experience in CSR space and compliance and NGODD, BRSR assurance, and she heads CSR practice in Mehta. She did look after day-to-day matters of CSR. With this, I will just thank all the panelists of today's webinar for joining us on our knowledge sharing journey on behalf of entire team of Mehta. Thank you. Friends, we have taken today a critical frequently asked questions either by MCA and ICSI, and we will try to cover maximum wherever possible. Where practical inputs from Mr. Randhir and Sudhakar will help. We'll take your question. We'll request everyone to put your question in chat box. And if time permits, at the end, we will allow you to speak. But we will keep on answering your question during our session. With this, I'll request Mr. Randhir if he wants to say a few words, and then Sudhakar, and then Dolly, you can start the presentation.
Yeah, I think CSR is something where we have now completed a decade plus. First, it came voluntary. Then it was something that was converted into mandatory requirement. Initially, it was focused on spending the 2%. Now, I think the stakeholder as well as board and committee expectation is moving from just spending 2% to the overall impact, right? How the impact is being created, how the beneficiaries are really being looked after from the CSR fund, and how the benefit is getting maximized. So I think the next era of CSR is something that is going to be very, very helpful, considering we are spending as entire India CSR roughly around 34,000 crore every year. And by 2030, in next 5 years, it is expected to go 1.25 lakhs. So I think that's a good roadway ahead. And I see that it is going to help India, and CSR will be definitely an area where probably corporate will have more focus, more better program we will get to see. In terms of regulation also, if we see this area has evolved, I was lucky to be part of the session with corporate affair minister when we were discussing before the Companies Act was launched, notified. So in FICCI, the discussion was on various provision, and CSR was one of the provision. When I see that day versus today, it is entirely changed, and the kind of importance organization and stakeholder have placed on this is humongous. So I am very positive about the changes in regulation and where we have reached as corporate CSR. However, there are a lot of teething issues, expectation of all stakeholder outside organization is also something with awareness. Now with more people knowing and looking at CSR fund, this also brings a lot of challenge. We will discuss more on this, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sudhakar, you want to say, or we can start the presentation?
Just one or two things only I would like to say that number one, CSR section 135, which is duly amended, which is in force now. In addition to that, the revised rules which came into force from 21st January 2021. According to me, absolutely there is no ambiguity, there is no complexity. It is as clear as possible. And to a large extent, they have simplified also. The only thing is that still people have a lot of questions about CSR, and I have seen that whenever there is a webinar or a session on CSR, a lot of people join in that. So one of the things what come to my mind is, with all due regards, we as professionals might be trying to cut the corners or camouflage certain things under the garb of CSR. Because the type of questions what people ask me, sir, whether this comes under CSR, I said, yeah, you yourself ask this question, you can answer it, whether it comes under CSR or not. Schedule 7 is very clear, whatever the activities are there in that. In addition to that, yes, you can liberally interpret that. That's what the ministry also said. But that doesn't mean you bring certain things. See, CSR is nothing but it is to be available to everybody without any restrictions, caste, creed, or a company, or my employee, or my supplier, something like. The second aspect is CSR is entirely different from charity. I always, several times I said this thing, CSR is different from charity because charity is an unstructured activity, whereas CSR is more structured activity. Objective might be the same, to benefit the society, to give benefit to the society. But only thing is, charity is at my whims and fancies. Whenever I want to start, I can start. Whenever I want to stop, I can stop. It is not regulated. Whereas CSR is not like that. It is more of a structured one. It is regulated by the regulator. There are the rules of the game is there, which we need to comply with. The third aspect is people are also thinking that CSR is a part of ESG, which is not so. ESG is a very wide canvas. CSR at the most might be coming under that second element, that is S, social. So to some extent, may be overlapping to otherwise, the ESG social related things are much, much wider than CSR. CSR is a very minuscule of that ESG, I can say at the moment. So this differentiation we need to understand before going ahead with the CSR related issues. And today's topic is very interesting because what we did was we had enough discussions as far as the law is concerned. Today we are going to discuss certain questions which both MCA, that FAQs of MCA as well as of the ICSI, and we will deliberate it further. Fortunately, Randhir also was a part of when the FAQs have come, and I also got the opportunity when the ministry was drafting this FAQs. And similarly, as SSB member, I also got the opportunity to draft the FAQs from the ICSI side. So we can discuss certain things in depth also. Yeah, with this, I will give a pause, and Dolly, you may start your presentation.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dolly.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the today's webinar on critical FAQs on the CSR. So in this presentation, we have covered the FAQs given by the MCA as well as ICSI. And one by one, we will be discussing upon, and later you can, put your queries. We will answer that. So as Sir has just mentioned, CSR is introduced in the Companies Act 2013 under Section 135 with the CSR Rules 2014 and Schedule 7. which we have already discussed previously, in our CSR sessions, which is available on our YouTube channel. Moving onwards, let's start with the FAQs given by the MCA, dated 25th August 2021. We have picked up the several important FAQs. First is about the applicability of the CSR, where the question is about if company has not completed 3 years since the incorporation. In that case, how CSR provision is applicable. So here the answer is that even if company has not completed 3 financial years since its incorporation, as we all knows, the CSR applicability, we have to check the immediately preceding financial year. So CSR is straight away applicable to newly incorporated companies. When we talk about the calculation part for the 2% calculation, the company has to see their previous 2 years or previous 1 year since its incorporation for the to calculate the CSR obligation. Yeah.
So you see that here section 135(1) gets triggered only as per the previous audited financial statements. So in case of a newly incorporated company, the day one 135 is not applicable to that. When it closes its financials and after getting it audited, then you have to see that threshold limits, whether they're applicable or not, that your net worth, your turnover, your net profit, the moment it is applicable, say for example, your accounts got closed on 31st March 2025, and the company was incorporated, say somewhere in the month of 1st October 2024, the 6 months you have prepared the accounts, you got it audited, then you have to see that whether 135 thresholds are getting attracted or not. If it gets attracted, then for the financial year 25-26, you have to start complying with the procedural formalities, whatever, like your constitution of the committee, then whatever the money you want to spend, etc., etc. Randhir, if you want to say something.
Yeah, no, I think this provision is very clear considering the amendment. Sometime the different aspect on applicability, particularly for those non-operating companies, with the properties and land bank. And once the sale transaction happens, you have suddenly the profits. And the impact is that the CSR becomes applicable. These are some watchful areas. And last year, I think MCA has issued notices to some of the companies who missed spending CSR. And when you have companies particularly keeping land in stocks versus non-stock, so profit versus non-profit, the way calculated in 198, some are included, some are excluded. So that also becomes very, very complicated area, and proactively looking at it is something that helps in compliance.
So moving onwards for the next question, that is about the CSR framework. So this is a general question talking about the mechanism for monitoring the CSR process, where it is on the board and the CSR committee to monitor and evaluate the CSR process from giving the funding till the final implementation, and also to disclose in the committee as well as minutes, as well as the report, CSR report, and place that activities on the CSR website. Yeah. Sudhakar sir, would you like to add on anything over here?
Yeah, see that in fact, only thing what I would like to say is the revised rules, the both board as well as CSR committee. The role of the board as well as CSR committee has been widened. So earlier, what was the board's role was primarily to spend the money, whatever the money they have to spend, they have to approve that. Whereas now it is not so. When they are sending that CSR money is to be spent, they are also obligated to monitor the implementation of the projects. So the board has to ensure that while constituting the CSR committee, that committee members have enough expertise. At least, okay, 1 or 2 members should have that expertise, and also have to have some kind of an interest in these kind of activities. So they are the people, once in a while, they have to go to the site and see the implementation of the project, the progress of the project, whether it is properly coming out or not. And similarly, even while deciding the project or CSR activity, that time also they have to see that whether it is embedded in the objectives as well as the what's called a vision of the company. That is very, very important. Okay, by say, for example, some companies wants to do certain way of CSR, and some company wants to do certain other way of things of CSR. So so basically what I would like to say finally is that CSR committee and board have specific role which they have to perform. Randhir.
Yeah, I think very well said, Sudhakar, that vision and mission of company and then interest of the company, its CSR committee board is supreme, and that derives basically how CSR works. One is see compliance with the Companies Act rules and FAQs, and one is actually the impact and finding real solution for the problems, and that too in time. And their board and CSR committee responsibility something is very very important. And for us particularly, if I tell you, as Dr. Reddy, we have four thematic areas which is very well connected to our vision and mission, and that includes education, livelihood, healthcare, and environment. We are one of the company which are leading on environment for more than a decade. We started this environment heavy CSR. Now probably we are in completing more than a decade on environment for working with farmers, agriculture areas, and carbon savings and those aspects. Beside the healthcare, which is always the focus where we are present through community. And as you mentioned, the interest of board and CSR committee, taking CSR committee members on ground, getting them involved. In fact, our CSR committee says, let's meet once in the areas where we are impact, and let's meet on ground zero CSR committee meeting. Let's have not in corporate office, let's do somewhere the CSR program is. And we are largely present in Himachal, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. So sometime we have done a one time meeting in Vizag area where our majority of plants are, and that's how probably it works much better. Not only CSR committee, as you were saying, even other board members are not that they are not responsible. It's only CSR committee member who has to see. So other board members are also required to visit, and that interest is required to be shown. And that works very differently, both for the people who are working on ground, the community, the beneficiary, when they go and meet, they hear from their own, and then that insight helps in designing overall program, modifying, and then implementing it.
In fact, several times this question also comes is that they ask, of course, see, bigger companies, they have their CSR departments also. Some people have been solely dedicated towards this work. In case of medium-sized and small organizations, they may not be having that kind of bandwidth. So they think that what sort of CSR activities we have to take up. The answer to that is very simple. Because even the rules also say that first and foremost thing, whenever you are taking up the CSR activity, you have to give preference to the local areas, wherever your operations are there. So you have to see not necessarily everybody has to concentrate on education or your the health related activities or eradication of hunger, eradication of poverty and all these things. You have to see what exactly are the problems in and around your what's called operations, business operations. Then you have to focus for that area particularly. Say sometimes there may be some illiteracy is there. Yes, education is more important than of health. Health wise, they might be suppose enough settled, but absolutely as far as illiteracy is concerned, sometimes it may be that the what's called as that in fact when the Reliance was taking up the CSR activity at one particular point, it says that Gadimoga where we have our that exploration and production this thing is there, the oil wells were there. There a lot of issues were there with the what's called as liquor, drugs, and other things. So we are taking up the de-addiction programs there. So that is more important for that. But de-addiction of drug, de-addiction of the liquor, de-addiction of smoking, all these kind of things we have taken up that initially to start with. This is how the CSR activities are to be taken up also. Suppose sometimes okay, that a particular area where you have your operations, the weavers might be there. They might be having a beautiful art, but unfortunately that art is dying. That is to be revived. In fact, okay, that Reliance also is doing a lot of related art, culture, etc. Also is one of the Schedule 7 activities where they are focusing upon because certain, the culture, arts, and the other factors, facets, they're completely dying. which they are now taken up and as a part of CSR activity, and they are reviving that also.
So the another question we have picked up is regarding the administrative overheads. So the definition requires a lot of interpretation, although it is clearly given to include the general management and administrative expenses done for the CSR functions. Again, it is clearly mentioned that expenses, if it is incurred by the project for the project implementation by the implementing agency, it won't be included in this. It will be included in the project cost. Yeah.
Randhir.
Yeah, I think we don't include a lot of these in CSR. As a company, the CSR project direct expenses is something that we charge here. Beside, of course, some part which is general management, but largely some of the costs are outside the CSR. Maybe we have not reviewed from that perspective, and we generally like to spend a little more than what is 2%. So it becomes immaterial for us. But yeah, generally for those companies where CSR money is something which is very tightly built up, this is very, very important. And compliance is also very, very important. That's something which is not allowed, as administrative overhead is not going and sitting here, and then it is remaining within the 5% limit. And CSR, considering now, is auditable, and then there is a lot of awareness. I think auditor goes and sees bills and everything. So it is very important that proactively this is looked at, and the compliance is ensured.
So just to say what sort of administrative overheads, as Dolly has mentioned, clearly it is their administrative overheads or the expenses incurred by the company. So administrative overheads of the implementing agency, if they are there, they are not part of this 5% of administrative overhead. So what are the administrative overheads then? Suppose in the company, you are actually establishing a CSR department. In fact, in big ticket items, definitely you have to have people who are dedicated looking
Right.
after the CSR related activities. Their salaries, their expenses, and all come under the administrative overheads. In addition to that, as I have mentioned, suppose there may be some traveling expenditure is there. Say, for example, the CFO is going to the projects or the directors are going to the projects. So all these are coming, and sometimes it may so happen you are actually having a kind of audit done for that particular thing. Impact assessment is entirely different, but you are appointing a person as an auditor who has to go and verify the expenditure, whatever they are incurring, is it correctly there or not there. And he is not a statutory auditor. Actually, you are having a special audit done. You can put even that expenditure also will come under the administrative overheads. So these are the things, any expenditure company is incurring, which is connected to the CSR activities directly, it can come under the administrative overheads.
Yeah. And then particularly, like you said, need assessment and all, that can sit here. Watch out is when you mention travel, particularly for us, when we take maybe senior management or board member for CSR site visit, there are some other things also clubbed. So you are also going and seeing plant, you are meeting some of the sales offices, you are seeing some other areas which is completely business. And there probably travel is something which is helping you in CSR also. So you don't need to build those as admin overhead. It's better to keep it separate so that those issues do not come.
Next question is about whether it is mandatory for companies to carry out their CSR activities in the local areas only. So again, in the Companies Act, it is given that companies shall give the preference to the local areas, although it is not mandatory for them to, spend on the activity just in the local areas. Yeah.
I think this last 1 decade plus now, this is the reason this provision is sitting in the Act, and due to which you see that Maharashtra, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, these are the states where you have disproportionate CSR spend versus Northeast and other eastern states where CSR money is going less. Although it is something that has to be preferred, but considering it is provided in the law regulation, and there are practical connect also, that where you are based, there you have more request also you have more better governance to look after implementation and then monitoring. And so largely it is happening. But yes, I see that it is just preference that has to be given. Number one, it is not mandatory. Number two, for various companies, particularly companies like us, where you have one registered office, corporate office, so many other offices in India, then you have plants maybe in 3-4 states, and then you have sales representative and sales office pan India. So where to limit the operation and how you extend this local area from one place to other. So that's how different companies also look at. But I see that it is not a restriction. You don't need to limit to local area. It is just directory and not a mandatory provisions in the act.
So, as you mentioned, sir, on the National CSR Exchange portal, the statistics are given the state-wise and the activity-wise. Companies are, spending on which state, matlab they are doing the CSR activities more on which state and also on which activities,
Yeah.
which is clearly like visible for the, which states are receiving the more CSR fundings.
Right. Industry heavy states will have more CSR, definitely. And the states that I mentioned, I did not mention Delhi only. Delhi is also, Haryana is also something which is in that list.
Sudhakar sir, would you like to share anything
about that local area?
Yeah.
See, in fact, this question also comes up several times. If the local area is self-sustained and they don't need any CSR expenditure there, say for example, you take any company, for the last 10 years we are spending CSR. How much we will spend on the local areas?
Yeah.
So you have to ensure that local areas are not neglected. Then once it is taken care of, then you go out to what's called as spread your horizon. Say, for example, companies like Dr. Reddy's or Reliance or Tata's or any company, take big conglomerates, they have to set up their CSR activities across pan India. You cannot confine to only one place, but you are spending across, but you are neglecting the area where your business operations are primarily located. That is not correct. That is the only what they say is, first of all, give the preference to local areas and then you go to other areas also.
And companies are suggested to do the need assessment just to understand what impact they will be creating.
Correct, absolutely.
Yeah.
Say, for example, if I am having my manufacturing operations, the local labor, the skill sets are not there. And I have to import labor which from other states, outside the states. I'm not having the local people. Then what I have to do? Immediately, I have to take up the activities relating to enhancing the skill sets of the local people, which comes under education. So that vocation, the training, all those aspects I have to focus upon. This is how we have to.
Yeah, I think need assessment is very, very helpful in CSR, particularly when you are looking at a strategic program. And I will just talk about two different nuances that I had in front of me. If you see the Baddi cluster, which is a industrial town in Himachal, and aggregation of lot of industries there because of tax exemptions 3 decades back when it started. And we have other place which is say Vizag cluster, and they both are very, very different. If as Dr. Reddy I want to have one CSR program work both the places, it may or may not work equally good, because the stakeholders are very, very different. When we did the need assessment in Baddi, where you have all the migrant laborer, you have people from UP, Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, they are moving there. They are living in a very small place, and then whole purpose is that let's work, get the wage. Some of them are living with family also. But it's not like they are socially connected there. Their relatives are there. Their ancestral home is there. So safety net is missing, and you need very different CSR there. The need assessment, which we did, had flavor of improving the maternity ward in the hospital. There is one hospital which is really under pressure, and PSCs are also very far. The nearest from Baddi is Chandigarh, where you can get good medical healthcare facilities. So very different versus when you come to Andhra Pradesh, which has been a prosperous state even during independence and after that. And when we did need assessment there, we got a request for uh, supporting tribal schools. And the schools generally and hospitals generally, if you compare in Andhra Pradesh versus maybe Bihar, UP, or northern side, you will find very different. They are much better in southern states. Need assessment gave us visibility that out-of-pocket expenses, even in Andhra Pradesh, is for diagnostic. So PSCs are there, doctors are there, medicines are there. Quality of medicines is also to some extent good. But the out-of-pocket expenses on diagnostic is something which is missing. They're having very good safety net in their own houses. They have not migrated from anywhere. So very good safety net. So some of the things are required. Tribal school is something which government of Andhra Pradesh has around 30 plus tribal school in one state. And we thought that probably it is something may or may not be that demanding. But 10 lakhs population is tribal in Andhra Pradesh. And particularly women and girls are not into education. They don't send to school unless there is safety net. So these are all residential school. So unless you make good fencing, safety, security, 24 into 7 electricity, power backup, computer lab, STEM lab. Now we have done 2, 3 schools there, and we are doing other schools also. But when you go and see now these schools, you see that 500, 600 girls, they have aspirations to become IAS, to become doctor, to become engineer. And now they are reading Harvard schools, different schools, online available sessions. So that's what the CSR creates a difference. And they are very, very marginalized community people, first time probably going in a school. And one girl child definitely makes a lot of difference for entire family. So need assessment and then moving beyond your local area is something I see that next decade is going to play a big role in emerging CSR differently.
So the next question is about whether the contribution in kind can be monetized to be shown as a CSR expenditure. So the answer is no, CSR cannot be in a kind. The company has to spend in monetary terms for the CSR obligation. Yeah. So here we just had received one question, in registration form regarding there is IT company which is willing to donate the computers as their CSR activity. So they can do that or not? The answer is no. They have to spend on the computer rather than donating directly the computers.
Yeah, that's how the thumb rule is, that a spend means a spend, and Sudhakar will be more, I would say, rigid on this. That
Yeah.
it has
You
to be
see,
an
that
amount.
in fact, the reason for that, as we discussed yesterday, and what they say is sometimes, some companies do certain wrong things. Because of that, the regulator get apprehensive and make some rules which are not fair enough. And this is one such thing. A question definitely comes by when I am in particular, say, producing certain things. Why can't I donate my things? So here the question comes: CSR is not a donation. Okay, what the regulators takes is that CSR is not donation. So your donation is not accepted as a CSR. Number one. Number two, there were certain companies earlier. What they were doing is they were substandard products, quality rejection products, spurious products, non-moving stocks, slow-moving stocks. They were pushing all these things under the garb of CSR. This is came to the regulators' notice, and they said that by you cannot what's called as, do something in kind and monetize that. CSR expenditure is to be spent. So in this case, the way the Dolly is mentioning, suppose if I am a company is there which is manufacturing laptops, and you want to give your laptops, that is not accepted as a part of CSR. However, if suppose you are setting up an educational institution, you buy the laptops from some other company and then you give it, that comes under CS. No, the question, definitely it is fair question. Why not my own laptops comes under CSR? Because it is cheaper to me. Only problem is that, as I said, कभी कभी हम जो कर्म करते हैं ना, और वो अगर वो बैड कर्मा है तो obviously it will start haunting you. This is the same thing. Some people have done certain things wrong, and everybody has to face the music because of that. This is regulator is very clearly, because when this FAQs were being done, that point of time we did discuss this issue with the Joint Secretary MCA, and he said that by look, as far as we are concerned, we are very clear. You cannot do it in kind. You have to do it like you have to spend the money. Suppose if I am having the land, I cannot donate my land. I cannot transfer my land to a particular this thing. I have to buy the land there. Otherwise, suppose I have to create a trust. Suppose if I'm having a land, I have to sell the land to somebody, and then that's how it is to be done. So the company has to spend money. That is very clear. At the end of the day, how it is to be seen is company has to spend the money if you want to uh, ensure that it comes under the CSR activity or a CSR project. Yeah.
Yeah, but in last maybe 1 decade, you would have seen the practice of using own product in overall CSR program, where maybe you are having a spend of 100 rupees and 2 rupees is coming from your own product. And as you mentioned, if I'm the best, why not use my product? ICAI has given a guidance on how to compute. What you mentioned is something that is an ethical issue. And I see that in case someone is going on the other direction, it is the company and board who is responsible. And ultimately, it is expected that whatever we are doing as company or as professional, we are doing it with the conscience, and we are not only complying in the law but also in the spirit. Later and spirit, as we say, both are compliant. So very, very well said, Sudhakar. But the practice
In fact,
is there.
there was a question also a few months before. Somebody asked me, the promoter of the company is having a chunk of land. The company wants that land to be as a part of the CSR activity. Now it is not accepted. The promoter is selling that land to the company, and the company is giving that land to the CSR. Why it is? Because that land might be costing, say, for example, 1 crore of rupees. They will get it valued for 10 crores. And CSR spending is 10 crores is over. How the regulator will accept that? He will not accept it. Because that, number one, the related party transaction, conflict of interest, so many issues are there. So one has to be very, very careful. That's why don't try to camouflage anything. Here I request the participants who are the company secretaries, especially, and similarly the chartered accountants also. You have to be very clear what you are doing it. You should be able to express, you should be able to explain to your managements what is permitted and what is not permitted. Today, if you do something which is not acceptable by the regulator, tomorrow you will be in trouble. How you will convince them? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So we can say that indirect marketing of the own product is not allowed.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that definitely is not allowed.
Yeah.
Marketing is something that is not allowed.
Yes. The next question is about, can CSR funds be utilized to fund the government schemes? So the objective of the CSR is to encourage the companies to look around the society and do the need assessment, and as per the Schedule 7, do the activities. So the CSR should not be interpreted as a source of financing the resource gaps in the government schemes. So here the answer is no. It should not be utilized just as focusing area of the government schemes. Yeah.
I think this is one area where you have a lot of requests, right? As CSR head, I received so many requests from across India.
Not request, pressure.
No, request, pressure,
Pressure.
as you mentioned, yes. But you have to find, sometimes there are some genuine requests and lack of clarity. So I was maybe in 23, I was going Vizag, and one of the district PSC was getting inaugurated. I was there with some of the senior folks from the Andhra Pradesh government, including some politicians. And there was a request for electrification, solar lights in the department. So the request was that you grant us maybe 2,000 solar lamps that we will use in collectorate office and other department which is there. But the intent was very different. They were not aware that this will not qualify in CSR and this can be considered as gap funding. So when he told me, I said that your letter is something that is holding my hand. Otherwise, our environment program is something which is towards making India green and then saving carbon and emissions from the electricity. So if you move this whole project from your offices, where you are sitting and your salary and everything is responsibility of government, to Gram Panchayat and maybe the village, where the children can play in the street light, can study, and then the Panchayat offices, where probably farmers do the sittings, those things we can take care of. And he was very kind. He said, yeah, we don't have any intentions to do it for ourselves. So we will amend the request and then probably you work with the Gram Panchayat and do this green initiative in the Andhra Pradesh villages. And we did it. And so many other companies also then did it. Before us, some companies also did what was asked for. So you have very thin line and then you have to really create way out. But of course, gap funding is something that is restricted, and that's the very right provision in the regulation. We professional need to be in sync on this, right? We should not creating maybe the government infrastructure from CSR money. For that, there is a large sum of money that is collected, and that should be used properly. And the CSR money, which as per the legislation, has a very right intentions and that is towards making India really great because you have some gap of funding as a whole that is there, and that's why the concept of CSR has come, that corporate with their 2% and then expertise supervision would be able to fill that gap, which is the aspirations of New India, and this money should rightly go there.
Last month I have received one query. One of the company secretaries was asking, the local corporator was putting pressure on them to spend CSR money for the purpose of Ganesh Pandals. The question is, can I spend the CSR money for the Ganesh Pandal? It is promoting the art and culture. And the Schedule 7, the corporator himself has given that also. My answer to that was, you cannot do that. The reason being, it is a one-off transaction.
Yeah.
CSR is, you cannot do anything as a one-off transaction. That is nothing but a sponsoring an event.
Yeah.
Ganesh Pandal thing is, you are sponsoring an event. That is a one-off transaction, which is not a part of CSR. It is clearly prohibited, in fact. And so you cannot do any kind of sponsoring activities. You cannot do it. And similarly, I said, suppose if you are constructing a mega temple, maybe that can come. So don't take anything. It is all situation to situation, assignment to assignment things. You have to examine that. If you are constructing a huge temple and all, maybe yes, if you want to develop a Gurukul there in that particular temple, yes, it may be. So don't take that answer by in the webinar. Don't quote me that Sudhakar has mentioned, if I'm constructing a temple that comes under CSR or establishing a Gurukul that comes under CSR, but it may, because it is a big project. One-off transactions are not acceptable. Yeah, Dolly, go ahead.
And that can always be done through non-CSR fund.
Correct.
You as
Absolutely.
business,
That is donations, basically.
yeah.
Non-CSR funds.
As business, you spend only in 4 ways.
Correct. Absolutely.
Your real business expenses, your political donation, your CSR, and then rest of the charitable donation. So you are always free. And generally, we keep some budget which is for non-CSR, because CSR is very, very structured, regulated. Something you think should fit this side, but will not fit because the regulatory restriction is. So of course you have to do it through donation rather than doing it as CSR.
Yeah.
So the next question is on Schedule 7. Can CSR expenditure be incurred on activities beyond Schedule 7? So the answer is no. So CSR Schedule 7 is very exhaustive list containing the wide range of activities. So one has to interpret the activities and then accordingly decide for the, proceeding further for the CSR project.
I think Schedule 7 is the most beautiful part of the entire legislation. This leaves room for saying yes, and this gives rooms for saying no. Right?
No.
So it's very, very wide, and company, board, and professional have all the ways. It's a very clear areas what is allowed, what is not allowed, and what is not allowed is not allowed.
Yes. Just now we have spoken for the sponsorship for the Ganesh Pandal.
Right.
That is not allowed. So we need to do the interpret the Schedule 7 activities accordingly. One can decide for the CSR project. So the another question is again on the sponsorship of the activities deriving the marketing benefit for the company's product or the services. This is already
Dolly, we have already discussed the sponsoring things.
Yes,
we will take up next question.
Yeah. So the another question is regarding the companies outside India, if they are doing any project for the benefit resident Indians, it is permitted as a eligible activity or not under CSR. So the only exemption is given for the training of Indian sports personnel representing any state or the UT or the national international level. Then only it is permitted for a company to spend for in the international CSR project.
Correct.
Yeah.
So first of all, that person has to represent the state or the country. Then only he can be sent abroad for training.
Yes.
You are not sending any Tom, Dick, and Harry as sports personnel for training purpose abroad. So there is a very clear demarcation is there in this.
Yes.
Dipti, there are some questions. Would you like to take up that in the chat box?
Yeah.
Better to do that,
Yes.
So we'll start from first.
Yeah.
Okay. So good evening. If CSR expenses were made last year and showed as expenses in CLN, should this CSR amount be added back to the net profit while calculating CSR liability under Section 198?
CSR spend is not charged. It is after the 198 profit that you arrive at. So it is always outside.
The next is, sir, we take PBT, then also audited reports needed. I don't know, it's a question or...
Yeah, CSR spend of 2% is basis audited financials. Sudhakar mentioned it in the very beginning.
Is there any timeline for filing CSR activity details in MCA 21?
Yeah, CSR 2 form it is there. No? CSR report, you have to file it together with the director's report.
And there is timeline.
Whether the CSR activities can be shown in ESG compliances chapter by the company.
I said very clearly, ESG is entirely different and CSR is different. In the annual report, if you want to show it CSR activities in a separate page, that is, you can do it. But in the board's report, you have to report about the constitution of CSR committee, the committee members who are there, and how much is the amount you have spent and all. So that whatever the mandatory legal information you have to furnish in the board report, you have to do that. In addition to that, you show it under a CSR, ESG, this thing, or a CG report under that. Placement is nothing, as such mandatory in the annual report. Placement.
But if you see the integrated report that companies publish, we also publish. There you publish and disclose on E, S, and G. And then there are various different taxonomy and reporting standard. When you are reporting on CSR, it fits into S part, right? Social, where along with other things, you also report the CSR, which becomes one of the disclosure out of several disclosure that is there in ESG.
Yes, Dipti. You're on mute, Dipti.
Yeah. IFSC, International Finance Service Center, are exempt from CSR?
I think IFSC is an international, the way they have conceptualized it, it is exempted from tax and it is a foreign territory in India. That's how the concept is. So if it fits there, maybe it is exempted, but we'll have to check
Just
this.
pick up that section and then see if it is exempted or not exempted. If it is exempted in that section 135, then it is exempted, otherwise not.
There has been an amendment in CSR rules to the effect that if all the three financial criteria are absent, then section 135 becomes inapplicable the next year. Please give light on it.
See,
We
this
discussed
3-year
this.
concept has been now completely dropped, it is deleted from the rules. Yes,
It is-
Randhir, you are saying something.
I was saying it is previous financial year. That's how the rule talk now. So it is last year criteria, and in case it is applicable, CSR has to be complied with.
That sub rule 3 has been dropped completely in the amendment, so it is no more there. The 3 years concept is not there.
Should the 5% be calculated including administrative overhead, or should administrative expenses to be excluded from the total CSR expenditure?
Administrative overhead is 5% of total CSR. That's how the limit has been
No,
given.
his question is like this. The answer to that is, if I have to spend 2% of CSR, say it is 100 rupees. Out of that 100 rupees, 5 rupees can be administrative overheads. Remaining 95 rupees, I have to spend it for CSR purpose. That is what the answer is. Suppose if I am incurring any cost of impact assessment, that is
2%.
also permitted up to 5%. So if I have to spend 100 rupees, 5% administrative overheads, 5 rupees, another 5 rupees for impact assessment, the 90 rupees I have to spend it for CSR. But when you are showing this 100 rupees, you have to be very clear that 5 rupees for administrative overheads is only to be spent by the company. It should not be a part of your implementing agency's cost. Your implementing agency's overheads and other things are covered under that 90 or 95 rupees.
What if administrative overheads are incurred by implementing agency out of the CSR contribution made by the company? Does administrative overhead need to be incurred by the company on the desired CSR activity, or can it be incurred by anyone carrying out that CSR activity on behalf of company?
I have already answered this question, Dipti.
Yeah.
Well,
Can
maybe
you
just to
please
clarify on this, Dipti, this is a important area. If you see the administrative overhead is linked to company as of now, so you are having 2% budget, and on that very nicely Sudhakar mentioned what is allowed as administrative overhead. Now you distribute this 90 rupees in Sudhakar example only, I'm extending it, and give it to 10 different NGOs. They will also have some administrative overhead. They are having 8 to 9% of overhead, and then they are deploying rest for actually providing the activities benefits to beneficiaries. So those are outside this limit. That's a different question that board has to keep a watch. CSR committee has to see that administrative overhead or overhead of the NGO in one program versus other program has its own merit. There will be definitely difference. It is not a benchmark thing that all NGOs will have overhead of less than 10% or 7%. There are NGOs, there are programs where you have overhead 20-30% also. And then there are CSR programs where NGOs overhead is 5%, 6%, 7% also. And that is all right.
See that here what happens is when you are selecting the agency, that time itself you have to set up that percentage of administrative over expenses. Say for example, for the company they are given 5%. How can your implementing agency incur 10-15% overheads? It cannot be.
Yes,
Similarly,
you agree.
if you see the P&L account of any company, you see the administrative overheads, it hardly comes to 5% or 6% or below that only. It won't be more than that. So you cannot be too liberal as far as overheads of your implementing agency is concerned. You have to be very tight.
And that's all agreed when you are actually assigning the project.
Yeah, everyone is asking about recording. Please subscribe our YouTube channel, Decoding Corporate Laws with Mehta and Mehta. All our webinars are uploaded there, please. So the next question, director of a private company is a trustee of a trust. Can the company contribute by way of CSR to that trust?
It is only related party transaction, and otherwise there is no restriction.
Yeah. Next question. It's a typical case, but I'm reading out. if you're comfortable. Suppose a company has two CSR projects as per Section 135 of the Companies Act. The company is required to spend 10 crore towards CSR activity during the year. The company has already spent 15 crore on project A, thereby fulfilling and exceeding its CSR obligation. However, it also has another ongoing project B, where the expenditure is not fully incurred by the year end. In this scenario, is the company still required to deposit the unspent amount relating to project B into separate unspent CSR account, even though the overall CSR, basically that voluntary more CSR spending, whether they have to transfer it to unspent CSR account? That is the question.
Yeah.
See, your CSR obligation of the 2%, you may be having 10 projects you might have decided to take up. But till the time you are able to spend even on one or two projects, the 2% expenditure is there. Regulatory is concerned, it has nothing to do with the remaining projects. It is only internal matter. Your CSR committee has to do that. By that, why we could not spend money on project B, why we have spent the entire money on project A only, because every project, whenever you are taking up, there should be a plan. That plan is to be approved by the CSR committee as well as the board. That means you are deviating from the plan. You are deviating from the project, whatever you have taken up. So that is an internal matter. As far as regulatory is concerned, till the time you spend that, whatever the amount you are obligated to spend, they have nothing to do with it. Randhir, you are a
Yeah, very rightly said. And legally, you are not required to transfer this money to unspent account.
Yeah, internally, as Sudhakar rightly said, it's a plan, your internal plan, you change it. And then since you are not spending, that's okay. Next question, during the audit of financial year 24-25, financial statement of 22, 23 and 23 leading in increased CSR liability for 24-25. As there is no option to spend CSR obligation, increased CSR liability of 24-25 was transferred PM CARES Fund in September 25. Is this proper compliance? Basically, it is being said,
I
that's why
understood the
there
question.
is
If they are restating the accounts or for any, with due approvals and other things as per the act, and because of that restating the accounts, the CSR obligation has increased it. Obviously, you cannot spend in the past. You have to spend it now only. And now you are spend it. You are want to donate it to the PM CARES Fund. According to me, it is perfectly in order.
Yeah,
There.
I also have the same view.
Could you please let know that what is to be excluded, even if directly related to CSR under admin overheads? Kindly explain with example and detail.
We have already given the example of the administrative.
Yeah. Traveling, lodging expenses for monitoring project will be considered as that project cost, or it will only be considered as administrative overhead.
The traveling, lodging expenses and all these things of the people who are dedicated to the project, who are working exclusively for that CSR related activities.
Yeah.
Then it is a part of the project cost, not administrative overhead. Say, for example, if in the organization there are some employees are there, apart from whatever the other assignment they're handling also the CSR related issues. In that process, they are incurring some travel expenditure or some conveyance or some administrative related overheads and all. That will come under administrative overheads. As I was mentioning, suppose the CFO is there. The CFO is traveling to the project, say on monthly basis or bi-monthly or whatever it is. And he is traveling to monitor the progress of the project. Or alternately, the project manager of the company, who is actually concerned with the projects related to the company, but also supervising the CSR project. He is traveling for that purpose. Traveling cost can be a part of the administrative overhead. And similarly, say for example, for example, the company wants to say 20% of the salary of a person because he is working, say for example, 15 days in a month for that CSR activity. Then they want to spend, say, put 50% of that for CSR administrative overheads. They can do that. See, you have to ultimately, there is no what's called as a straightforward formula for this. At the end of the day, you have to justify that whatever the expenditure, administrative expenditure you are incurring is for the purpose of CSR. You don't bluff the things. And suppose tomorrow if the regulator comes, he should buy your argument and it should be supported with the backings and all. By merely if you do indulging in a storytelling, he will not buy your stories. And he said, look, as far as I am concerned, it is not a part of your administrative overhead. It is not a part of your CSR. and I'm going to penalize you, prosecute you, then you have to go and fight your case.
Is it mandatory to conduct need assessment before taking up any CSR
I think
activity?
Randhir has explained this in a great length. We don't about need
Yeah.
assessment. He
It's
has
not
explained that already.
It's not
Yeah.
mandatory, and it's not mandatory, and it is not advisable even for a smaller project. Only for
Yeah.
a strategic CSR initiative, you should look at it.
Yeah. Can we spend CSR funds for solar power project in own company as it is saving carbon points and
No.
improves environment? Of course not.
Okay.
Can PCS certify an impact
No,
assessment
one
report?
minute. This solar project is concerned. If you are doing it for a village completely, entire village, you want to do it by the solar project and all. You take up, suppose a CSR project like that. You are having your manufacturing operation. There are about 4-5 villages are there in and around, and you are taking up year after year, one village. You are putting the solar project everywhere. Yes, that comes under CSR. But if you are doing it for the company, and trying to, this is what I exactly call it as camouflaging the transaction. You are trying to camouflage under the garb of your carbon emissions and all. You want to put the solar project and you want to cover it under CSR. No, it won't be accepted.
This is a very interesting area actually, which evolved maybe in last 3 years. If you see ESG goals and all the companies have taken now, and they are reporting also. And if you see carbon credit, solar power, these are some areas where you get monetization benefit. Even if you are doing outside the company, you have to be very careful. And then whatever surplus you are generating because of the carbon credit and such other surpluses, that has to be deployed back in the CSR. And in any way, if CSR, this solar power for the company, for the business within the fence, that is absolute no. In any way, it is not going to qualify for CSR.
Can we can a PCS certify an impact assessment report? Does it need any qualification or experience for providing this report? Yes, they can certify. There is no qualification as such. But Dolly, you would like to say?
Yeah,
please.
The person who is doing the impact assessment, you require the skill set related to that particular project. So you need to evaluate yourself whether you are suitable to evaluate that project, and accordingly you can provide the report, impact assessment report.
The industry specific knowledge and all that will be required. So
yes,
that you have to. Please elaborate, since CSR expenses are not usual working charges, should this CSR amount be added back to the net profit while calculating CSR liability under section 198 if such CSR expenses is debited in the, I think again it is coming.
If you say that, I think this gentleman want a clear-cut answer. If you say, sorry, I think Gitanjali wants that. If you see section 198, when you are arriving at for the purpose of 197, they clearly said that it is to be added back. That sort of requirement is not there for CSR. So you don't need to add it back. So you have to strictly comply with 198. The 198 complete that formula, what is to be added, what is not to be added, what is to be subtracted, what is not to be subtracted. Everything it is there. Stick to that, and in that CSR is not there, so you don't need to do that. Yeah. Dolly, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was coming to that only. So the multiple times this query comes when we are calculating as per section 198 CSR obligation. That time, do we need to add or deduct, the previous CSR expenditure, which is there already in the P&L side debit, in the debit side? Do we need to add back that or not? So that is the question. Yeah.
Not required.
Yes.
You don't need to add back.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any project activity which can be undertaken in own company?
No, that is no.
Okay.
No, one minute. What is this question? Are there any project activity which can be undertaken in own company means what? This question is not clear.
Under CSR.
CSR expenditure can be incurred by the company directly. Not necessarily you have to implement your CSR project to an implementing agency. You can implement it directly also. But as far as I am concerned, the question is not clear to me. Suppose if you have taken up any CSR project, the company can implement that project. Absolutely no issue. Company can do CSR activity directly.
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't have that kind of a bandwidth, you appoint an implementing agency and you can do it through the other agency also.
Yeah.
But you can't do it for your company or benefit.
Obviously.
Yeah, if it is for the external beneficiaries, it is allowed.
Next question, whether Section 8 company, which is not engaged in any business activity, which receives contributions to the tune of say 10 crore, and amount spent by the same on the object is 6 crore, and admin expenses is 0.50 crore, and excess of income over expenses is 5.50 crore. Thus, Section 135 applicable to such entity?
Yes, it is
Section 8
applicable,
companies are
and
not
whatever
exempted.
the income over expenditure, you have to spend 2% of that.
Yeah. If not, will the answer be different? No, it's okay. It
Simple
is
answer is
applicable.
Section 8 company is not exempted.
Yeah,
It is
that is there.
applicable.
Yeah. Section 8 companies, it is also company and they have to follow CSR. So the company has voluntarily carried out CSR, can they claim set off in future years?
No.
No.
Company is incorporated in the month of November 23 and the company have profit March 25 for CSR compliance. So whether we need to divide the profit by 1 year or we have to go proportionate. The company is incorporated in the month of November 23.
See, if the company is incorporated November 23, okay, the company would have closed their accounts in March.
Yeah, so
Because
finance.
you cannot go beyond 18 months, I think,
Yeah.
So if you are preparing the financials, whenever you are closing the financials, that will be treated as 1 year. If you are closing it, say up to March 24, then it is 1 year. Then 24-25 the second financial year. But suppose from November 23rd to March 25, I am presuming that it is closed only for 1 year, then it is one financial year only. There is no question of 2 financial years there. So first of all, understand the concept of the financial year.
And just to clarify, applicability is basis the previous year, that is previous financial year. And then a spend of 2% is basis average of 3 years profit.
Okay. Next, plantation under CSR. Can maintenance of those plants be considered under CSR?
Plantation under CER.
CER, I think it is CSR. They have planted the trees under CSR.
Yeah, the maintenance will also be qualifying.
Yeah.
I don't see there is any
Yeah.
issue.
If the implementing agency does not incur the expenditure during the year, what is to be done with the unspent amount?
You go and deposit it with a specified fund.
Get back the money.
Let me go beyond the question also. Suppose, say, for example, you are given the money. Yesterday also we were discussing this at a great length. If you are given the money to an implementing agency, that fellow has not spent the money, but he is not returning it to you.
Yeah.
Still, you have to go and deposit it with the specified fund because he is your agent, but main obligation, responsibility, accountability is on the principal only. So it is the company which has violated the section. You have to face the penal consequences of that. And as far as your implementing agency is concerned, it is a civil dispute between you and your agent.
And due to that, best practices like proactively deploying CSR funds and keeping a good monitoring on the utilization spend and taking action maximum by January on anything which is not as per the plan is always helpful. Otherwise, you get to know about this in March and then there is no recourse left. You have to either pay extra and then deposit with the funds. Those are the only recourse left.
Any mandate of honorary members who should not be, do we pass board resolution? Is there anywhere we can get role and responsibility of honorary members? Don't know what kind of question.
Yeah.
Any mandate of honorary members?
Actually, it's not
Directly
directly
Yeah.
related to CSR.
Yeah, I know. Say company is required to spend rupees 100 on CSR. It spends 90 during the year and deposit 10 in unspent CSR account, which is spent in the next year, assuming CSR obligation for year 2 is also rupees 100. So in this case, PL will be CSR expense in 1 year will be 90 and CSR expense in year 2 will be 110. Is this understanding correct?
Provided it is a CSR project.
Ongoing project.
If it is an ongoing project, what he says is correct. Otherwise, it is not correct.
Not correct. Could you please repeat that whether on behalf of company, if any other agency is spending for CSR, so can that be claimed under 5% admin overheads?
I think we have discussed enough on this.
Employee volunteering is increasing, becoming a big part of CSR for most corporates. Can the cost incurred for volunteering be accounted as CSR in addition to mandatory minimum CSR budget spent for the year and take credit of the overspend in next financial year?
The administrative overheads that 5% limit is there. Within that limit, you have to do that. Again, the same thing, the example what I have given, 100 rupees, 5 rupees administrative overheads, 95 rupees CSR. If the company has spent 105 rupees, irrespective, but you cannot cross administrative overheads of 5 rupees. So what you are doing, if you are spending 105 rupees means you are spending 100 rupees towards CSR and 5 rupees administrative overheads. Yes, that 5 rupees you can claim set off against next year CSR obligation.
And I will touch that volunteering bit. If you see the volunteering, it is employees who are going and then on ground engaging with community. And community is the beneficiary and employees also getting the fulfillment. So you have to disconnect somewhere. Whatever is allowed as per CSR, say you are creating something which is helping the beneficiary and that is part of your CSR approved program. Maybe that is something that is going to be allowed in CSR. But employees traveling for community and doing volunteering, having those engagement, there are some of the expenses which has to be seen that whether it will be allowed or not.
I think the person is asking whether the cost of employee hours can be CSR. That is answer is no.
Yes, it's no.
No.
We NGO received a CSR fund for school classroom construction 2 days before the year end of 24-25 financial year. Now the donor company wants utilization certificate mentioning it was used last financial. Boss, you know the answer. Panelist, please.
So this is from the NGO side.
Yeah. The
Question is-
NGO people is asking. CSR corporate environment responsibility under environment clearance. Oh no, sorry. If company has given CSR funds and the receiver has not utilized the funds fully, what is the accounting policy and audit qualification for next year?
We already discussed this, sir.
Yeah. Plantation done under is there. Honorary member again. If the implementing agency is unable to spend, the CSR funds by end of the March, can the company take back or recall the unspent amount before March to avoid the requirement of opening and maintaining separate unspent CSR account?
See, this
If-
also let me explain that there are two concepts are there. One is the CSR activity and second thing is an ongoing project. If it is an ongoing project, if any kind of deficiency in CSR spending, that deficient amount you have to deposit it in a separate bank account within 30 days of the closure of the financial year. If it is not an ongoing project, then within 6 months, whatever the amount you have not spent, you have to deposit it in the specified fund. So you have to be very clear what is an ongoing project and what is a CSR activity. Activities are mostly you have to complete it within 1 year. Ongoing project may be spillover of maximum of 3 years plus the year in which you have initiated the project. So 1 plus 3 financial, so total 4 financial years. So if it is an ongoing project, it has to, number one, fall in the definition of ongoing project. And second thing is the CSR committee as well as the board has to approve that ongoing project. What is going to be the total project cost, outlay, the planning, everything they have to approve it. You cannot simply give a terminology of ongoing project because you could not deposit it, that I may spend the money, you don't want to deposit it in the specified fund. It is not like that. The ongoing project also rules and regulations are there, comply with the rules. Yeah.
I think with this, we have answered all the questions attended, and I think no more questions are there.
So we are left with 10 minutes, Dolly. Any important questions, please take up. Don't go through your entire presentation. Important questions take up. Yeah.
Okay. So ongoing project, although we have already discussed, the one important question regarding ongoing project that can BODs or the committees, they can abandon or modify the ongoing project or not. So yes, within the 3 years timeline, they can modify that with giving the reasonable justification. The next question is again regarding ongoing project. If funds is parked to one particular project and now that project is not doing well or they want to discontinue, then they can utilize that fund towards other project or not. So answer is yes, they can modify that. The next question is regarding the unspent CSR amount. If company has been given the 6 months time to transfer the unspent amount, CSR amount, which is related to ongoing project. So the company can, company can spend this amount in the said period of 6 months on any other CSR activity rather than transferring to the this Schedule 7 funds. So answer is no. If you have any remaining unspent amount other than ongoing project, in that case, straight away you have to deposit within the 6 months of the end of the financial year in the Schedule 7.5 funds.
Let me just deal with this in a more clear manner. Several times this question also comes up. I could not spend the money before 31st of March. So I will spend that in next 6 months and I will not transfer it to the specified fund. Answer to that is no. You have to spend the money within that financial year only. 6 months time has been given only to transfer to the specified fund. That's it. So you cannot say I will spend the money in this 6 months and I will not deposit it in the specified fund. That is not correct.
That is state non-compliance, and maybe Dolly touch base on the consequences of non-compliance.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's also one important area.
Yes.
And when we are talking about non-compliance, let me also say that subsection 7, the penal provisions are relating to non-compliance of subsection 5 and 6. So non-compliance of other subsections of section 135, there is no clear penal provisions, what's called instituted under section 135. That doesn't mean you will not be penalized for non-compliance of the section. Suppose, say, for example, CSR committee not constituted, CSR policy not framed. Those kind of non-compliances, then section 450 will get triggered for that. Wherever you are not, penal provisions are not there, for all that thing, the section 450 will get triggered.
So the next question is related to penalty only, where company has done the unspent amount transfer, but after the timeline. So in that case, penalty will get triggered or not? So answer is yes, the penalty will get triggered.
135 subsection 7 penalty will get triggered.
Yes. Yeah, talking about the next question is regarding the impact assessment, whether 2 or more companies can jointly do the implementation of CSR project or not, and also how it will have an impact on the impact assessment. So the answer is yes, the companies can jointly do the implementation of this CSR project. While talking about the impact assessment, they have to report in a way that they can, separately do the disclosures in their annual report, and accordingly they have to share the cost also of the impact assessment.
And similarly, 2 or more impact assessment agencies can also be hired for impact assessment of various programs.
So these are the FAQs from the ICSI, where this I think we have already spoken about the board and the committee's duties. The next question is regarding, so there can be a case where ongoing project is going on, and in the midway of the ongoing project, company has realized that this NGO now is not having the valid 12A or 80J registration. In that case, what company has to do? So although this question was written in way back 2021, but now, as of now, for the 2025, when the company is realizing that NGO is not complied with the latest 80G 12A, then they have to make sure that NGO is getting complied before giving the further, tranches of the fund.
See, that is there. But in between, whatever the years are there, then non-compliance is there, that you have to face the penal consequences for that. Because you have appointed a an implementing agency which is not a qualified. Okay. So, and if you got that project implemented through them, maybe subsection 5 and 6 you are complying with, but you are not complying with that 135 too. So for that, as well as the rules also. So in that case, what happened, as I told you, 450 will get triggered there.
Yes.
So whenever you are appointing an implementing agency, the first thing what you have to do is you have to ask them the 80G registration certificate as well as 12-year registration certificate also.
It's a first foremost.
Yes, and before giving the project itself.
Yeah.
So here the
and similarly, it is not only when you are appointing them for the first year. Every year you have to do that. Whether that certificate which is there, is it getting renewed or not, or it is valid for the next financial year also. It's also your responsibility.
Yeah, so that is your due
diligence. 1 minute. There is one question has come. So we'll take that. Okay. If the CSR committee approves the entire Schedule 7 activities to be carried out for CSR expenditure, can the company do so? Rather, committee shall frame annual action plan and mention activities to be carried out for the expenditure.
You cannot say that, Schedule 7 activities like that means you have no idea at all.
Idea, you have to work out.
You have to give a detailed program and outlook, what you are going to do, who are the beneficiary, what are exactly the spends, and how they are going to be structured. So there are a lot of details in it.
Detailing required.
You can't
It's
have
a
a blanket.
responsibility of CSR committee. Very big responsibility.
How you will monitor the project otherwise? How the CFO will give the certificate to the CSR committee as well as to the board? You have to be very specific.
Yeah, Dolly.
Yeah. So we have already discussed this both questions, question 29 and 32. Yeah. So moving onward, whether all implementing agencies are required to be registered with the central government by filing the form CSR 1. So answer is yes. There is an exception where company is doing the CSR in direct mode. Then the company is not required to hire the implementing agency. So no requirement of CSR 1. And again, there was one more question about the validity of CSR number. So as of now, there is no timeline given for the validity. So we can consider as an infinite as of now.
See, CSR 1 is a one-time filing, no doubt about it.
Yes.
Provided that agency, which is the implementing agency, is qualified, continue to be a qualified agency. Then only if it is, because that means what? ATG registration, 12-year registration, they are continuing. If any year, for whatever the reasons it is, if the ATG registration is cancelled, then it cannot act as an implementing agency. Then you have to appoint somebody else and then you have to file a fresh CSR 1 form.
Yeah. Even in cases where they have shifted their registered office, where they have changed the name of the NGO, in that cases also they have to update the MCA via the form CSR 1.
That is, see, name change is concerned, it is only a procedural formality, no issue.
Yeah.
That 18G and 12-year registration certificates, they have to get it reinstated with the new name. And then you have to intimate to the ROC also by filing a CSR 1 form, wherein you have to say that there is a name change and all that's it.
Yeah.
And similarly, in your wherever your CSR report and all, you have to suitably address this issue.
And this becomes mandatory even in cases when you are actually implementing your CSR through Schedule 7-9 agencies, which are basically government notified agencies. So except when company is implementing, in all other cases, these are required.
It's 6:30.
Finally,
Yeah,
before we conclude, Randhir, can I ask you any interesting thing, during your 1 decade of CSR implementing in Dr. Reddy or anywhere else also? Anything interesting, in about 2-3 minutes if you spend on that, which is beneficial to the fraternity?
I think CSR is an area where you have always things on white and things on black, and they are very easy decision where you can easily say go ahead and don't go. Areas which are in gray, where you basically spend more time in decision making. We were talking about this ESG and environment related things. So if you see in 2022-23, we took ESG goals, and ESG goals were very challenging. And now you would see that most of the companies have taken emission reduction, one of the environment related goal, complete green energy, net zero, then water positive, right? So these are some of the areas where you have challenging ESG goals.
Are you taking care of ESG also for Dr. Reddy's?
Yes, I
under you?
To some extent, particularly governance and reporting. So not entire aspect, because S part will be always with the CHRO. So HR
correct,
is taking care of that. E part, which is technical people will be taking care. But reporting is something that I look at, BRSR and ESG reporting integrated report. So we had a lot of programs which is with farmers in environment. And initially, if you see, CSR was very clear that whatever is helping business, whatever is benefiting business is strict no for CSR. Then there was a time when we saw that when you are taking these goals, say water positive, you will be within the fence through various efficiency that you will create in the operations, and then you will recharge the water and then make the water positive in the fence. That's obviously one good goal. But basically, you are going outside, and through CSR, you are also bringing that water positivity. So we have lots of pond rejuvenation, and then the work with farmers there we also do. Now the question was that whether these programs which we are doing through CSR can we claim as ESG goals, and how should be the disclosure? And then on top of that, the issue of carbon credit, because you are going to have carbon saving. And then carbon saving, if you see, there are two ways to compute it. One is sample basis, and one is absolute, where you go and register with Vera or Gold Standard, and then you get the certificate which is recognized globally, and that can be really looked at and can be monetized also. So initial discussion was that probably this is not something that is allowed under CSR. So this has to be two different area. One is ESG, where you are going and doing it, and CSR is something where business benefit is not there. And then I was in MCA, and I think previous Modi government, and I have been in Gurgaon, and minister was also from Gurgaon, and he said, considering the target that government of India has taken on environment and net zero, all companies should be mandated to spend at least 20% on environment, right? He was just trying to appreciate this thing. It was not something intended, but we discussed about this, and he said on ESG, of course, CSR is S, and no one we are saying that it is something which is restricted. Now I see 3 years from here, when we were discussing, I see there is great clarity. A lot of companies have reported. You have solar cooker programs in Northeast, where you are generating a lot of carbon credits. We have this programs with farmers where we are generating carbon credit. So now that clarity is there. Although in the law, it was not very clearly coming out, because whatever you do, even good CSR will create a reputation and ultimately help the business. So whatever you do as a company ultimately will connect to the business, and benefit will come directly or indirectly. So this was one interesting area that came in 3 years, and I see that it is going to evolve a lot, because considering planet is crying, and we all need to help, and CSR is
Right.
one area through which we can do a lot.
There is one last question. 181 and CSR, how to differentiate? Can 181 donations, if false under Schedule 7, be claimed as CSR too?
See, I started the what's called this webinar clearly saying
It is
that
behavior.
CSR is not charity or donation.
Okay.
That is the answer to that. 181 is a
Right.
donation, not CSR.
Right. Okay. I think we answered all the questions. And anything, if anyone of you want to say, or we'll close the session. Mr. Randhir, Mr. Sudhakar, we can close?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Close, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Thank
It's
you.
6:36, and we have to close the session. It was wonderful. Everyone participated well. It is always debatable. It is again evolving since years it happened, but CSR always there will be questions, clarifications, and it keeps on evolving, and we'll keep on answering this way, and same way MCA and ICSI. Mr. Randhir, thanks a lot for your time sharing your practical experience. It was wonderful to have you on as a panelist. Thanks a lot for your time and sharing experience.
Likewise.
Thanks, Sudhakar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dolly.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Randhir sir and Sudhakar sir and Dipti madam. Thank you.
Very efficient, Dolly. Started on time, closing on time. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Randhir. Bye.
Thank you.